Cool. So if you guys all want to just pull up your phones, there's a little website here, menti.com, and you have a little code here as well. So we're going to do something fun, really just trying to get a sentiment check from everyone in the community, see how everyone's doing, what are some things you need help with, and hopefully we can all learn a bit more about each other through the process. So just go to menti.com on your phones and then enter this code up top. Let me know if anyone's having any issues. Perfect first answer.
Yeah, I didn't have to think about lazy. I just like off the top of the dome right away.
I mean, it's a Friday. I really can't blame you. Cool. Yeah. So I think we have a couple of people in so far. So just visit menti.com on your phone, enter this code, and you should be in. There's a good mix of answers. We have like half that are kind of tired, lazy, okay-ish, and then the other half is, invigorated, motivated. So I think we have a healthy balance in this group. I'll give it a couple of more minutes and need 100K followers. I like that. Does anyone want to share which answer they've specifically written and why they're feeling that way? I know Dom said lazy, so if anyone else wants to share what they've answered.
I mean, Sophic, I said invigorated. I mean, in the past couple of weeks, I've just been connecting one-on-one, starting with you, with other founders. And it's like the first time I felt like I'm connecting at the peer level, with people that are in the same industry and understand all the same dynamics. And so, yeah, for me, it's just really invigorating to hear people's extraordinary story and like to understand that like we have so many amazing leaders that aren't out in front and like aren't on CT in the timeline, right? And they're kind of behind the scenes doing amazing work.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think that's been one of my biggest takeaways over the past 2 weeks of, connecting one-on-one with founders from this community. It's that Twitter really isn't the full picture of what's actually going on in the world of Web3. And there's a lot of amazing people building in this space like all of you. So completely resonate. Danny, I see your hand is up. So do you want to share what you've written?
Yeah, so I wrote better than yesterday, and I know that's not one word, so I'll apologize and get in front of that now. But yeah, I think on the heels of VCon, I'm feeling like I have a lot more clarity and I see the bigger picture, and I've been able to integrate a lot of that into my day to day as compared to last year, where I felt like I learned so much, then kind of came off the high and just got sucked into the day to day. So yeah, I've just been focusing a lot on small steps and making progress that is sustainable. So yeah, I mean, truthfully, I've felt all of these emotions in the last couple of weeks, that's for sure. But I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. It's a good feeling.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Danny. I think like better than yesterday is honestly such a good kind of goal to set for yourself. Because it's that 1% better everyday theory. And in the long run, you're just doing incredibly well. So thanks for sharing that. Ash, I see you have your hand raised. Do you want to share what you've written?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Satvik, and everyone else on the call. I wrote in need of 100K followers. I guess I did that because of everything that happened in NFTs this week. And it just seems like influence is a big deal. There was a guy making $1 million just by just by tweeting, "Send me stuff, you'll get nothing," And then there was another scammer who made like $100,000 by manipulating a few influencers, and I'm feeling like me with my 1,400 followers, who I'm incredibly grateful for. I wish I knew how to multiply that by 10,000. or 1,000. Sorry, I'm a writer. My maths isn't all that good.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing, Ash. I think it's justified, and I think a lot of us are probably, in some sense, feeling, similar sentiments. Obviously, I don't think most of us here would want to sacrifice the hard work we've put into building a reputation for, doing stuff like that. But at the same time, it is often disillusioning when you've been working so hard and, maybe not getting traction or funds, and then you see all these people just asking for money and getting millions, in a few hours. So I do feel you, and I think a lot of people here would. But just know, I think slow and steady in the long term, we're going to end up coming out on top. Zach, I see you have your hand raised. Do you want to share what you've answered?
Yeah, absolutely. Quick side note, Ash, I'll follow you. If you, I'll help you on your route on your route to 100K. So I wrote frustrated because we're in the process of raising money, looking for new customers, and we have a decent amount of traction at our company, working with companies like Canon, the Associated Press, Sony, the History Channel. But those names, the traction, all of that isn't really hitting the mark nearly as much as it was a few months ago. And I was in conversations with our chairman, and he's now talking about working out on this AI NFT fusion concept for a new NFT project that we're going to launch, with the goal of using that in order to raise money, as well as creating a buzz in the market. Hopefully starting a new meta, because it is a really interesting concept that I don't want to get too deep into right now. But I've put in so much work around raising money in this other way, and now it's all being kind of flipped onto its head, where we're approaching it potentially from an entirely new angle, and don't really want all of that work to go under the radar and have to be sort of thrown out. So I'm trying to combine them in some capacity, but we'll see how it goes. It's been a frustrating week, but still having some good conversations, and things are still moving in the right direction, though.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing, Zach. I think, that's kind of an important message. And also, I think a lot as founders, we often face kind of those situations where you put in work into an idea for so long, you obviously put in the effort to make it come to life. And then whether it's the market or whether it's people you're working with or whatever external factors might be, sometimes you're forced to pivot in directions you might not necessarily have envisioned yourself going. I know myself, we pivoted from Joint Circle to Anoka this year. And it was a lot of work to literally had to redesign the entire product and doing all of this stuff. So it's part of the journey, but I will say, if the pivot's going to work out for the better, it might not be all too bleak, and it might actually end up working out for the best. So good luck on that. I think it's a great kind of segue to go into the next question that I have here. So, as a founder, what are some things that you tend to mostly focus on? And that goes to where you spend most of your time, what you really prioritize, and how you allocate kind of your role within the team. So just rank these tasks. All you have to do is plus minus the amount of weightage you want to give it. And for anyone who might have joined late, just the website's up at top, menti.com, and you use this code to enter this particular presentation to participate. This is shaping up to be quite different to what I thought it was going to look like. So this is kind of a cool insight into the community, I think. Let's see, we'll give it 2 more minutes before we move on to the next question, which is correlated, and then we can kind of get into discussing this as well. Cool. So this is interesting. I think, product development is typically where most of you seem to be spending your time. Community building, obviously, I think it's been pretty synonymous with the whole idea of Web3. So this is quite interesting because here I just wanted to see really you personally as founders, what you tend to focus on. And the next question that I have for you is what do you think is actually important for your business to succeed? And this could be your business in particular or businesses in Web3. What do you think is that key priority area or the key criteria that ultimately decides if a business ends up being a success in the space? While everyone gets their answers in, is there anyone who wants to just share what they think is, ultimately what makes a business successful? Easton, I see you have an answer in the chat. Do you want to maybe talk a bit more about it? Okay, guess not. Is there anyone who wants to just share? I see Dominic, you have your hand raised.
Hey, my answer for the current startup was that first was product development, fundraising, and then community building. Even though my previous answer was, I think 70% was community building, because that's what my task is right now for this one group. But it comes from my most recent involvement with a tech company that was a Y Combinator cohort. We had really good institutional investors. We had beta testers in like Netflix development group. It was the core product was for programmers, developers. So we had Stash, we had a lot of big names for our beta testing, and then we launched it into the market, and it legitimately 100% flopped. So the product market fit wasn't there. And so taking that very recent experience from last year is my main concern. That is very heavy when I talk to the other founders who are more tech and they're focused on the product of trying to echo that, but not be like such a drag and a burden to the overall team and the sentiment, but it's so fresh that someone said a bit of luck. We had everything lined up and we still failed. And so it was really jarring, right? But it's nothing new. We've all seen it. We've started multiple startups. That's kind of commonplace, that you need like a perfect kind of blend and permutation of everything, right? The team, the product, investors, and luck and timing. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And I think, what you shared is often as founders or as teams, we think that we have all the right components, the timing is right, community supports their products good, and then yet somehow it just doesn't work at times. And I've seen that happen with such amazing teams and such amazing products. And sometimes it is just, a little bit of luck, a little bit of consistency. But I do think, especially now in Web3, there's obviously a ton of people building in similar areas, similar directions. So from a product development standpoint, a lot of times there is this echo chamber of what founders think the customers need. And I think, which is why I love seeing here that community building and product development are honestly almost equal, because I do think it is ultimately a really healthy mix of the two, and figuring out, constantly talking and iterating with the community what they need, what they're looking for, and finding the best ways to capitalize on that, but also support the community. Danny, I see you have your hand raised. Do you want to share?
Yeah, so I actually put market research first, and I feel like working with a lot of different businesses and founders, in any given week, one thing that I see as a theme, and I'm certainly guilty of this as well, is people get tied to solutions over problems, and it's usually due to a lack of customer discovery. And I feel like it's very specific in Web3. And yeah, truthfully, I think that there's not a lot of data that exists in Web3, which is why sometimes we have a tendency of just being solution focused. But yeah, I've seen a lot of businesses have to kind of go back and start from the beginning, start from scratch, because they overlooked a lot of really key factors and variables when it comes to researching your problem, validating it, and subsequently being able to drive a strong product market fit. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, Danny. And I agree with your kind of perspective as well. A lot of times in Web3 specifically, people are often building solutions first and then trying to find problems or trying to convince users that these are real problems that they face. And I do think the role of market research is obviously huge. I think we also just don't have enough good research companies in Web3 still. I think there's a lot of analytics companies, but none that are doing, hardcore research. I remember when I used to trade stocks in college, I would always be on Seeking Alpha. And it was just like a great place to learn about different companies, different stocks. And I feel like something like that for Web3 is still largely missing. It's a lot of community generated content that tends to be biased. So yeah, I think market research is definitely a great answer. So thank you for sharing. I think this has definitely given some great insights into the community and how we feel Web3 is really progressing at the moment. The next question is for all of you. This is for me to learn a bit more about what kind of resources I can tailor to this community, potentially even see how all of you as founders can help each other. I'm sure we'll see some stuff here that others in the community itself might be able to help you with. Also want to highlight that we have a channel within our Telegram group where you could show your socials, Twitter Spaces, anything that you're working on that you might need, some followers or some engagement with. So we can focus on conversations in general and shill anything you want in the social shill channel. So please feel free to use that as another resources as well. Yeah. So what do you need the most help with? And would love to see your answers here. These are really good answers, by the way, and need help with building a cool website. I think the longest conversation that we've had in the Telegram group chat by far is about website no code builders. So, definitely check out the Telegram group chat. We literally discussed the pros and cons recently of every single option that exists: Webflow, WordPress, Framer. So hopefully that'll be a helpful conversation to check out. Access to capital, definitely something that advisory is going to help everyone in this community with. So past 2 weeks, I've been talking to a ton of VCs, been talking to a lot of ecosystems to get access to different grant opportunities, as well as just, traditional equity capital. So in case you are trying to raise actively, just feel free to schedule a one-on-one. I'm already helping a few founders in this group chat figure out their deck and fundraising strategies. So yeah, get those one-on-ones in and we could definitely work on that. Sales tech co-founder, definitely finding a co-founder. Hopefully there are some opportunities within this community to do so, but also Y Combinator has a really good co-founder matchmaking platform. So, that might be a good resource. Dom, thank you for attending. See you shortly. Yeah, is there anyone who wants to share what they've specifically written here? Feel free to just unmute and go, or raise your hand. I can call on you. Shari, the member list is on our website, so you should be able to access it. Jaimin, I see you have your hand raised. Do you want to share?
Yeah, so I said traction. I guess the reason being, like, I guess you'll also probably see in a sec. We have a product which we just launched a couple of weeks ago, and it's typical YC law that when you launch a product, nobody cares, right? And I am feeling that we got some users on board, but I wasn't expecting anything crazy. Got like a couple hundred people on board, but I think traction is really the name of the game. Like, we are expecting to raise at some point this year, and it's really hard to do in this market condition without traction. I think, and it bundles together a lot of different things. It's like, is your product actually solving a problem, right? Do you have a leaky bucket? There's a ton of bugs that you're solving every day. And really validating with the market whether it's a worthwhile value proposition is super important, as well as traction is the other side, which is top of the funnel. So are we even getting enough eyes on this? Like, we don't really know where the traction is going to come from. Is it from users who are just power users who are loving the product every day and sharing it with their friends? We don't think it's quite ready for that yet, but maybe if we put some shareable features in, we would see that a bit more. But maybe it's just, we've only got 1,000 followers on Twitter, resonating very much with the kind of, can we get 100K followers just today? That would be great. So yeah, we don't really know where it's going to come from, but traction for us is probably where we need the most help.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well elaborated. And, I think traction, like you said, is the name of the game. Ultimately, you want, VCs want to see some traction. Your community wants to see other people using it. I know you say you're most similar to like Honey, but the Web3 version of it. So, I mean, even they had to go out and get Mr. Beast, to promote their product. So I think it is challenging, especially now where I think user retention is quite divided. There might not even be as many active participants in the space. So I think it makes it all the more challenging. But hopefully you demoing the product today is going to bring you some traction through founders and their communities in here. And yeah, so hopefully, take a look at this. If there's aspects of this that you potentially want to help your fellow community members with, stuff that you want me to help with, definitely feel free to reach out. Use the Telegram group chat. I think it's a great place to just connect with each other, meet each other. I know we've already had a few of you connecting within the community and, setting up calls with one another. Some of you have met IRL already. So just foster more of that kind of collaboration. And I think it'll go a long way. For this one specifically, this really stood out. I just want to shout out, Jeremy Fisher, Jeremy Lucky Ducky in the community, brilliant animator, brilliant NFT project. So I think there might be something there. So, definitely have a chat. I think that'd be awesome. And I think I have the last few questions. So I think this is the important one that I've honestly thought about a lot. So hopefully this is a quick one. Have you ever wanted to just give up as a founder, go back to your day job, try literally anything else except being an entrepreneur? I left my full-time job earlier this year, and there've already been moments where I'm like, shit, am I cut out for this? Is this what I really want to do? So no judgment here. If there's either way your answer goes, I think there'll be enough people here resonating with that. Wow, 6-6 so far. Are we gonna have a tiebreaker? Shari, for your question, so I try to periodically update the list on the website. So I still have to update a lot of the recent applicants. And for this presentation specifically, if that's what you're asking for, to participate, just go to the link up top, menti.com, and enter this code. So you'll be able to participate in this. But the one on the website, advisory.wtf, that's slightly outdated and is one of my tasks for this weekend. So I'll get that updated soon. Cool. So it seems like we have 8 people that wanted to give up as a founder, and no, it's 7. So, I mean, this is close, right? And this is as close as it gets. So I want to go to the next one and just ask the people who have considered giving up, or even the ones who've never wanted to give up, what is it that stopped you from giving up, and what is it that inspires you to keep going as a founder? Keep showing up for your companies, keep showing up for things you're passionate about. So I would love to see your answers here. And if anyone wants to share their answers for this question specifically, I'd love to hear, what kind of keeps you going as a founder and keeps you motivated to show up.
I'll talk about myself here, Saptic. I'm the one who answered the opportunity to succeed/fail by my own hand. Having been let go from a job unexpectedly, having done a good job as well, and then just being laid off, was quite a surprise. And knowing that I'm more valuable than just like a yes or no decision about whether or not I stay on board at a company is crucial. I see somebody put people before profit. Totally agree. That's something that really resonates with me. So yeah, I just want to be able to control my own future. That's what it boils down to.
Thanks for sharing that, Maki. Yeah, I think that's a great answer, and one of the big reasons why I personally love the world of entrepreneurship. As much as I can seem to detest it sometimes, it's just that ultimately you're kind of in control, and you, in a way, no one to blame but yourself, right? So you could really give it your all. You can put all your energy in, and you will get kind of what you put into it. So really love that answer. Also really liked, unlock too many new skills to go back. I don't know about the rest of you, but at least for me in the corporate world, I almost sometimes felt underutilized and just felt like I could be doing a lot more given what I know, what I've built, what I have experience doing. And, to see this here, it makes a lot of sense. If anyone else wants to share what keeps them going, I think it'd be great inspiration for the rest of us. So feel free to unmute and share that.
I can just quickly share. I think for me, what keeps me going, sorry, I'm not able to write in the chat, but is definitely this sense of seeing the connections that exist with technology and the problems that exist with humanity, and just feeling like being able to sort of see how to connect those and how you can really make a difference by being able to be present at this moment and trying to problem solve in a way that ultimately can change the future of humanity. So it feels like crazy talk sometimes, but it's possible. I mean, I've seen crazier things done, so that's what keeps me going.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Fiona. Aditya, you have your hand up.
Yeah. So I wrote it's fun. So I think particularly for me, like I went at the stage that I don't really have anything holding me back, and I really enjoy what I'm doing. So it's fun, and this is what keeps me going. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome, thanks, Aditya. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's fun is a great reason. It is honestly quite fun to just build and, have the ability to work on these new ideas whenever I want instead of like
Yeah.
going through hundreds of people in a corporate environment to get permission to do what I want. So I like the fun idea of it. Shari, you have your hand raised. Do you want to share what you've written?
Sure, sure. So for me, this, I have thought about giving up sometimes, but it's the community that keeps me going. I mean, we're a community filmmaking production company that I've started, and just, meeting new people across the world and making films together, and giving people opportunities that, haven't had a chance to be on set before, that actually get in there and tell their stories. So that keeps me going.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Shari. And, I think we have a lot of film people in this community as well. So hopefully there's some really interesting people for you to connect with and potentially collaborate with as well. So thank you everyone for sharing. I think these are all fantastic answers. Honestly, the motivational speech compilations I personally really love. And also I think a good kind of shout out to Mackie here, who just previously shared. So we've officially started posting some short form videos on our socials, so TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and all those videos are being taken from our calls and being put together, compiled, edited by Mackie. So shout out to Mackie and Word3, his company, for getting that content organized. And yeah, hopefully we go viral on social media for all the
Here's
educational
hoping.
stuff and yeah, motivational content we're bringing. And then, the final question for today on my end is just scale and, vote on what you think the answer, or if you agree to or disagree to some of these kind of statements.
This is my first time seeing this platform topic, and it's actually super cool. It's super cool.
Awesome, glad to hear it. Yeah, I wanted to just like do something engaging for today's call. And I remembered like once long ago during my business major, we did an activity on this. So it took me a while to find this website again, but yeah, I think it's one of the cooler ones. Um, cool. So does anyone want to share what they've answered here and talk us through their thinking?
I want to talk about entrepreneurship as glamorous. I rated a 3. I was gonna go 1 initially, but honestly, I have more pride telling people that I am in business for myself than I ever did saying I work for like international logistics in a craft brewery, which seems crazy because everybody thinks working for a craft brewery is like super cool. But honestly, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really fair take. It's also, I think it's that intrinsic kind of mindset around entrepreneurship versus how people might perceive it, right? So some days I just feel like, wow, it's such a shit show being a founder, the shit you have to deal with all the time. Whereas from the outside, my friends would be like, oh, you don't even have like a normal job. You're living such a fun life being an entrepreneur. And I think it's this dichotomy of perceptions around entrepreneurship versus what the experience can really feel like. So I'd love to hear, if anyone else in the community wants to share what you've answered here. I think these are all really interesting answers. A lot of them are actually very contrary to what I expected these answers to look like when I was making this. So definitely really insightful for me as well.
Yeah, I mean, I I think I did 11555 because hindsight is 2020 and we learn as we go. But, you know, I feel like a lot of people put themselves in this false idea of self-importance, so to speak, into roles and titles and tags and labels that they shouldn't have. So, it's one thing to run around and saying, I'm a founder, I'm a CEO, I'm a CMO, I'm a something C-suite. But realistically, there's a lot of people that really thrive in those support roles as opposed to the leadership roles. And there's a lot of people, especially in Web3, that lead, but they've never led anything in their lives, let alone sold 100 units of something or managed 400 plus people simultaneously all over the world at all times that are always in demand with things on fire. So, I think one of the biggest takeaways I've had in terms of looking at success versus then versus now is we just have a lot more tools for human resources and management of such. And in turn, if you know how to delegate, like, I don't really like to use Gary Vee as an example of anything. But but I will say that he is a monster when it comes to project management and resource management and human management. And that allows him to focus on things that are more important and just kind of point at things and let them get done, because the people that he's managing understand their positions in the grander scheme of things. And I think I follow that book of thought, so to speak, except for I think the biggest difference between how he runs his business and how I run mine and the people that I manage, maintain, and develop is flexibility, malleability, and really not being stuck with a high overhead and low cash flow because you can't move because you've overcommitted. And I think that's something that everybody could kind of take away from. Just like be light on your feet and flexible and agile, and don't let things become concrete or immutable, if you will.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great answer. And Eric, I always appreciate you keeping it real with us. I think I agree. I was always of the opinion that everyone can just be an entrepreneur, but I kind of read this quote a few years ago that I think resonates with me more now. And it's that everyone's special, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. And so I do think that, everyone can be successful, but maybe not everyone's necessarily cut out to be a successful entrepreneur. Like Eric said, a lot of times people might be really good at one thing, but I think being an entrepreneur just entails so many challenges. You need resilience, you need to be able to work with people, manage people. And so I think I'm personally very divided. And again, this is not to influence anyone's ideas. This was really, the activity was to see what everyone thinks of this experience. So hopefully this activity was fun. I'll do my best to kind of summarize all these answers, share it with the group so you'll have a record of all of these. Feel free to use these as well. So this is the end. And then now we'll hand it over to you, Jaimin. Sorry, we cut into your time a little bit, but the community is all yours. Would love to see a demo for your product. Hopefully some of us are turned into future customers and collaborators as well.
Awesome. Well, firstly, thank you for that exercise. I feel like it's great to get other entrepreneurs, other founders' views, and just want to say that it's an awesome community here at Advisory, and it's a real pleasure to be doing this. So I appreciate everyone's thoughts, and I guess the goal of this, for me particularly, is sure it's like I'm going to shill the thing I've been doing, working really hard on. But I think you guys know as much as anyone that feedback is the most important thing that you need when you're starting out. And feel free to give me your very unfiltered, roast me, whatever it is. I'll put my Telegram in the group chat. So that's kind of the goal of this. Happy to just share my screen and get to it. So I'm Jaimin and I'm building Caddi. We're on Uniswap here. I'll take you to the website first. The goal of Caddi is for users to profit from every trade. And we do that by saving you money as you transact. So we're a Chrome extension. Savik made the analogy of honey, and that's quite similar to how we brand ourselves. It kind of is a Chrome extension. It sits with you as you transact. And the goal is, for a user not to change the way that they trade or swap or do anything in crypto, and they can actually earn some money back, which typically value would be extracted out. So I mean, I guess get into a little bit of how I came up with this idea. My background's in traditional finance. I was a quant, and then I started to trade in crypto. I realized the markets were not very efficient, and I was able to capture some of that. But then I realized that every time a user executes a swap on Uniswap or even Binance, they're moving the market, and someone else is profiting from them doing that. It's usually an institution or a market maker. We kind of wanted to flip that value on its head and say, why can't you have the same execution that they use, except in a really retail-friendly tool? So yeah, I mean, that's why we've developed Caddi. It's you don't have to change the way you trade if you use Uniswap, if you use 1inch and MetaMask. It works on those, and we support Ethereum, Polygon, and Arbitrum. So currently it's only swaps, and we use these partners. But I'll just dive straight into the demo. So I mean, I'm assuming we've got a fair few on-chain transactors here. So I'll switch to Polygon. Caddi will say, it's got this savings tab here, where it shows you your most recent transactions. If you want to onboard with centralized exchanges, you can put in your API keys. They're encrypted by passwords, so they never leave this device. It's same as MetaMask keeps your seed phrase. We have optimal order routing. We also prevent scams too. So if you're on a phishing website, it will flag. And you can turn off and on centralized exchanges. I mean, here's a quick demo of how Caddi will work. So I'm going to swap some Polygon tokens. Let's go for 15 Polymatic tokens for something over here. Let's just say Curve Down. And when you execute swap, hoping it works live, it scans your transaction and it looks across the entire ecosystem. So now, I'll kind of pause here because sometimes I know these demos can go pretty quick. You're going to save 1 cent. It's a pretty small transaction here, just $13. If you swap through 1inch over where you were swapping on Uniswap. And there's different routes, there's Kyber Swap, Matcha, Leaf Finance. Probably some of these you might be aware of. Maybe some of them aren't so familiar. But when you execute the transaction, okay, that's an error there. That's something that we'll probably fix. And I'll just maybe switch chains. I think that will solve this issue. But that's good to know. You guys can give me that feedback that shouldn't have happened. We'll swap some ETH, not 0.01 something, $20 worth of ETH to sushi tokens on Arbitrum. So here it's going to save us 9 cents, and Matcha is going to save us a little bit less. We'll execute this swap, and then your wallet will pop up. So it works in the same way that you're typically familiar with, except with this extra step that will save you some money. And when you confirm the swap, it goes through, and then you can view that on the block too. So here, we've just executed transaction, and it's gone through. And this was using the 1inch router instead of Uniswap, but it does work on different aggregators and eventually centralized exchanges too. We've released this a couple of weeks ago and got some good feedback. I think a few users have mentioned, oh, you saved me on my trades, which is pretty cool. And the real long-term value that we want to create is crypto right now is a lot of trading, but a bit of infrastructure as well. I'm really excited about the end use cases, the dApps that people are using. Let's say like the NFTs that you guys own, or even if you're trading, the different trading platforms that you can have access to. There's a ton of cool use cases. Like you can do staking, you can do derivatives trading, you can do a whole host of things. I want a user to be able to go straight to the dApp, which provides value, rather than worried about moving funds around. So let's say you have to own a certain token. Let's say you own Ethereum on Polygon, or like wrapped Ethereum on Polygon to access this new NFT mint. Instead of worrying about bridging from another chain, or even on-ramping, or even withdrawing from a centralized exchange, we'll abstract all of that away, and you can just go and mint that NFT, and we'll do all the routing on the back end to make sure you own that wrapped Ethereum or whatever it is. And that's all going to be done with this Honey style extension. So that's a brief overview. I mean, we do have some phishing protection. I can show you how that works as well. So there's like Uniswap v3. It's like a fake website, this. So Caddi will pop up and make sure you're not on any phishing websites. One user said to me, "It's like Caddy popped up, but this pop-up was too small, so I ended up getting fish." I just felt really bad. So that was an interesting story there. But yeah, I mean, we are live, and we potentially could do this for NFTs, for bridging, for a whole host of things. I'm really excited about what people are building, even during the bear market. But if we can provide value, and your savings can tally up over time, then if you have Caddy installed for many years, then that's the idea, is that you'll be saving a pretty decent sum. I'd love to get if anyone have any feedback, like, would you be a user? Is there anything that worries you most about Caddy?
Jaimin, this is brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's an amazing product, and I'll also like just props for you for doing this at such short notice. I know we only spoke a few days ago. I said, why don't you come and do this? I really appreciate it. I think the community's reaction in the comments looks amazing as well. I have two quick questions, and then I think we have a couple of people who also have their hands raised. So the first one is it only compatible as of now with EVM, or can it support pretty much any chain that's available on the swaps?
The goal is every chain, anything that users are using. But right now, the easiest integrations were Ethereum, Polygon, and Arbitrum. Soon to do BNB, but we'll have to see in terms of demand how much activity there is elsewhere.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And then the second question I had is it only, the phishing stuff that it's flagging, is it only on previously blacklisted websites, or can it do a flag if you're about to, say, sign a malicious transaction, like some of the platforms are doing these days already? Or is it only kind of preventive before you even authorize a transaction?
Yeah, so I guess scam prevention right now, it's phishing from a blacklisted group of websites, and we use some pretty live databases. So if there's any hacks that happen, it should be reported immediately. But actually, transaction scanning by looking at the contract address, then that's something that we're planning to get set up. We're working with a couple of security partners. Like, we're actually aggregating different security protocols. So you'll get, instead of just downloading one, like, the Fire or Pocket Universe or a Blowfish or Wallet Guard, we'll get like 4 or 5 different, API providers to say, this has been vetted by 3 out of 4 people. Maybe one person said it's definitely a scam. And I think that will provide a bit of an advantage over the current ones.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, thank you for answering those. Mackie, I see you have your hand raised. Do you have a question for Jaimin?
Just a comment. I'll be trying this weekend, without a doubt.
Well, thank you. Yeah, really appreciate it. Maybe I'll leave a link of the website here.
Hopefully not the phishing
please do.
one.
And when I say unfiltered feedback, I mean feel free to just go in. That's the best feedback for us. You saw it didn't quite work with one transaction. That's something we've got to fix to get this user experience right.
Awesome. Ash, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question or feedback for Jaimin?
Yeah, a bit of both. So the first question is, do you have to be signed up with those exchanges to do any of those swaps?
Yeah, it's a really good question. For centralized exchanges, you do have to have a centralized exchange account. I can kind of show you here how it works. Let's say Binance, you kind of click on this and you upload your APIs from there. And then, I mean, it would never leave the extension, essentially. It's kept locally. But with the on-chain partners, you don't have to have, ever used any of these before. So, but yeah, you have to have funds on the exchange and technically be KYC'd on these partners in order to trade there. And in the example I gave, there wasn't a trading pair where you could trade on centralized, but for example, I think this one will have a centralized exchange route. Was there another question here?
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm not a trader. I am on KuCoin. I'm pretty terrible at it. All I ever do is lose money, so I've forgotten how to even do any trading. So I'm not your target market, but I think pretty much everyone in crypto is your target market, and I think this is fantastic what you've created. And when I have the bandwidth to get back into trading a little bit, I'll definitely consider that. But also, just to point out one thing, just be aware of the fact that a lot of people in crypto and NFTs are stretched all over the world. And I know South Africa, we have so many restrictions with regards to which exchanges we can use. I always have to use a VPN when I want to do pretty much anything. So I'm not sure how that might affect your service offering. That's the first thing. And then the second thing was you described yourself as a quant. What exactly is a quant?
Yeah, so firstly on the, the kind of restriction side, that is something that we have to consider. So we can't, give access to a decentralized exchange aggregator, which you wouldn't otherwise have access to, because that would be very bad. So we will have to put maybe IP blocking is the easiest thing to do for certain jurisdictions. However, yeah, I mean, I guess that's something to crack a little bit further down the road, maybe not too far. So it's like a quantitative trader. We use, like, I was at a bank and we use kind of like mathematical models to trade the markets. So we have like bots running, on my side, we were doing algorithmic trading. So using algorithms to trade for the credit markets. Yeah, it's just electronic trading, I guess. It's, these bots.
Fantastic. Thank you for the answer.
But crypto is way more fun.
Thanks.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Ash.
Appreciate it.
So Jaimin, so of course there's a question, who updates the security list, just the team, or is it community reported?
Yeah, that's such a good question. There's actually some really good databases, which their entire job is to keep a live list. So we didn't want to build that in-house, given there are probably way better solutions out there. And it is worth mentioning that now, wallets themselves are having some sort of phishing protection, but we found that they were quite slow to adopt with them. That's why, so many people got scammed over the last couple of years, really. So anything that, new is in the security space, we're going to be making sure it's absolutely live and up to date. We're using Chain Patrol and Crypto Scam DB, if you've heard of them. They seem to be the leading providers of that database.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thanks, Jaimin. And then David asked if you could show the NFTs feature or maybe talk a bit more about it as well.
Okay. So the NFT feature is not currently live, but essentially, if you can buy an NFT on one marketplace, it might exist the same collection on another marketplace. And let's say you're on OpenSea and on Blur, there's a better price. Then potentially you could take advantage of that price discrepancy from the same page you're on. So browse all your NFTs on, for example, OpenSea, and then don't pay the royalty fee that's associated with it if you can get it from somewhere else. It's not a live feature now. That's something that we're planning on building.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. And then Pluto just asked if you're linking user IP and wallet address, concerned about privacy.
Yeah, privacy is such a big concern in crypto in general. I think that's just like the audience of crypto, but also, for ourselves. I'll take us to the documentation where we also have, we do collect metrics on to improving our product, really. So here we use Mixpanel, and that's used to record, the volume traded, the pairs being traded. The data is not linked to a particular user. I would say that IP is probably at this point tracked since it's going to Mixpanel. But that's something that we need to be cautious of. Maybe we need to anonymize the IP as well. But there's no personal data. So you don't ever, when you download Caddi, you don't need an email, you don't need any sort of personal identifier. But that the trades are used to improve the product. So the trade metrics that we get.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's a fair answer. And I would assume, honestly, Pluto, that IP mapping with wallet addresses is probably more prevalent than you would expect. I know OpenSea has recently been notorious for banning some accounts that are accessing the product through different, restricted IPs and sanctioned regions. So I would assume it's a bigger problem than just the Caddi guys. But no, Jaimin, this was amazing. Do you just want to drop maybe like any personal social links or for the product as well, where people can find you, connect with you? I think this was great. Thank you again so much for taking the time to demo this today. I think the community definitely loved it, and you're going to hopefully get some new users from the rest of us. Also, for anyone else in the community, if you have a product, if you're building a product that you want to demo to the community on one of our calls, just feel free to DM me on Telegram. We can set it up. I definitely want this community to be your first round of feedbacks, your first users, and hopefully help all of us get that traction that Jaimin was talking about earlier. So this was great. Hopefully you enjoyed the activity today as well. This is the end of the call. Enjoy your weekend, and I can't wait to see all of you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Advent, for the opportunity as well.
Of course,
guys.
yeah, my pleasure.